So, the Russo brothers have just said in an interview with Empire magazine where they talked about Avengers Doomsday a lot, and we're going to break it down in this video, but they have just said that they have found a new level for Avengers Doomsday. And when they say that, I think they mean they've taken this movie to a whole other level than what Avengers Infinity War and what Avengers Endgame were, which is just absolutely crazy to think about. So, there are 5 things that we have to go over that they talked about in this really big article that Empire Magazine did on them. They always do these for Avengers movies. This time it focuses on the Russo brothers and they talk about the movie. And other people have been talking about the movie as well. And what we've been hearing has basically told us that this movie is going to be intense. And it's going to be complex. They literally say in this interview, it's complex. And as we've seen it so far, yeah, it is. And when you're dealing with the multiverse, it gets pretty complex as it is. But I think character arcs and such, and Robert Downey Jr. is playing Doctor Doom. He looks just like Tony Stark. That complicates things as well. There's a lot of aspects to all of this that are going to make it pretty complex, pretty deep. But the Russo brothers say that they have found a way to just do it all, which I'm super excited about. But everybody else seems to be talking about how emotional and intense it's going to be as well, because Chris Hemsworth was just asked by Variety if him and Loki were going to reunite in Avengers Doomsday, in which we all assume they will. We've heard they're actually going to fight together, and I can't wait for that. I've talked about this for a while. I think it's going to be one of the best scenes to see those two reconnect, and hopefully Thor will realize what Loki did and they'll be able to show him in some way. But Chris Hemsworth, who plays Thor, said it's a yes, no, maybe to that question. So obviously he's not giving a straight answer, but he does say the movie is incredibly emotional, incredibly powerful. It's going to blow you away, this one. So I take that as a yes, obviously. Being very powerful, being very emotional. I believe he is talking about, one, love, his daughter in the movie, but also played by his daughter in real life, and then him reconnecting with his brother in the movie, Loki. I do think that's going to be really emotional. And the Russo brothers have commented on this in depth already, talking about, many different aspects to it that have told us, yeah, it's going to be an emotional movie, which makes me believe we are going to see some deaths, but that's a whole other issue. Now, the Russo brothers did say something about the trailers that they have released already. This is one of the points we need to go over that they went over in the article. They state, each one of these trailers is narrative information, and it's all part of larger story. So I would argue that Doomsday had already started for you. This is crazy to think about because a lot of people did theorize when these trailers did come out, they theorized that maybe these scenes actually aren't in the movies. Maybe these are actually prepping us for things to come in the movies. And that does seem to be what the Russo brothers are doing. Now, that doesn't mean that these trailers and these scenes aren't going to be in the films. In fact, some insiders have said, for the most part, yeah, most of what we're seeing is in the movie. Not all, but most. So the story for Doomsday has already begun. And what I believe that they're doing with this is they're basically kind of picking up pieces and tying up loose ends that phase 4 or 5 have really kind of just put out there for us. Because obviously we know Marvel Studios had certain plans like for Kang, and then they all changed. Robert Downey Jr. came, he's Doom, they changed the big bad. A lot happened. So there are loose ends they need to tie up, and I think they might do that with some of these trailers. Now, we know that Marvel Studios right now is sitting on 3 trailers. They have 3 new trailers, so they're not the same as any of the 4 that were released before. They are sitting on different rating boards in different countries, like in Brazil and Korea. We know that there are 3 that they had rated. So perhaps they're going to hit us with another wave of these soon, and perhaps they are going to really start to show us like, hey, maybe the new Avengers, I'm talking about Sam Wilson's new Avengers, maybe they have already been formed behind the scenes because they did do a time jump at the end of the Thunderbolts, right? So their team should already be formed. Maybe the Avengers with a Z and the new Avengers are together already. There's probably stuff that happened behind the scenes off screen that we might not see, but they might show us in one of these trailers. I actually thought it would be a good idea if they showed us Kang. What happened to Kang? Doom maybe killing Kang, or just Kang's all being dead in one of these trailers as well. That way you don't have to see it in the movie, but they actually give us kind of, closure there. And I would be okay with that happening in one of these trailers. But it looks like they do have very specific plans, which we've known about for a while now. The marketing for this film is completely different than we've seen ever before. And I think they will eventually hit us with more of these, what they call narrative information stories. So they're all part of a larger story, which is probably going to start to come together when we get that first trailer. And it might come at CinemaCon, might come in April, but we haven't really heard much about the trailer recently. Now, the next thing they talked about is how complex the movie's going to be. This is what they said. Look, the movie is very complex. We thought one of the best ways to celebrate what the movie is was to give characters their own space and highlight some moments. So this to me sounds like kind of something that they basically did for Avengers Infinity War. It does seem like they are going to focus on some specific characters more than others, which is, a given when you have so many characters in one movie. But they're going to celebrate what the movie is, giving characters their own space, highlighting some moments. That makes me think that they're going to really give us some killer scenes. Celebrate and highlight moments, celebrate characters and highlight moments, showing what they can do, showing their powers, I really think of Cyclops when I read this. Because Cyclops is a character, for me, that hasn't been done justice on screen yet. So to celebrate and highlight Cyclops, one, I believe they've already done that with just like a 1.5 second clip. But to do something like that for Cyclops and then other characters as well, we already won. Like, if that's the case, if that's what they're doing for every single character, then that's going to be crazy because we know there's going to be a giant fight and they're going to show every character fighting. And it sounds like they're going to make sure when they show each individual character, and it won't be each individual character because they'll probably be fighting another character. But when they show those characters, they are going to give them kind of the honor and respect that they deserve and make sure when you see them doing their thing, it's going to be epic, which I love. Now, the next part, the third thing, they state this. This is about Steve Rogers returning. We have a special affinity with the character. We can't see this narrative without his central role in it, basically. The special place he holds among the ensemble, he sort of retains that moving forward. So we've already heard a little bit that this was from insiders. This is now coming from the Russo brothers, but we heard before from insiders that Steve was going to have a integral role in the movie. It's not like he's just returning for 1 or 2 scenes or a quick cameo. No, he is going to be one of the main characters. I do believe that Doom will get the most time. He is the main character. But then, of course, you have the other characters. I believe it's going to be like Steve Rogers, Thor. I hope Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. We've actually heard recently that he's going to have a bigger role than just, a few scenes, which is great. I think there are going to be those key characters that get kind of the main focus. Loki, of course, being one of those as well. But it's very clear now from the Russo brothers themselves, Steve Rogers is kind of going to be at the center of it all and kind of the heart of it all. They say the special place he holds among the ensemble, he retains that moving forward. Meaning when he gets thrown back in with the Avengers, they're going to look to him to be the leader. So he is going to lead the Avengers. It's going to be him leading the Avengers versus Doom. And then we have, of course, the other teams as well. And hopefully the X-Men are led by Cyclops. Although we have heard that Magneto goes toe-to-toe with Doom. That's an insider report coming from My Time to Shine Hello. But I can't wait to see that. I really hope that happens. And then they talk more about the complexity and the difficulty of the movie that they've experienced so far. They state, as much as we run at the fun in terms of what these films can be, and let's face it, they can be really fun. Like when we all think about what we want Doomsday to be, especially a big multiversal film, I think we see a bunch of portals just opening up and a bunch of different characters and cameos showing up and, fighting together, fighting each other, just the big spectacle of it all. Obviously, there's more to the movie than that, and it can't just be that. But that's what I personally think, because I think that would be really cool. But it obviously has to be more than that, and that's what the Russo brothers are saying here. They're saying as much as we run at the fun in terms of what these films can be, we also run at the complexity and the difficulty of what these can do at a narrative level. I think we found a new level of that in Doomsday, and this is what I mentioned in the beginning. They have found a whole new level of complexity and narrative storytelling in Avengers Doomsday that they're going to give us on screen, which is fantastic because that means they really have two things, I think. One, they really have understood that these films, especially coming after kind of a lull from the multiverse saga has been, don't get me wrong, there's been great projects, but compared to the Infinity Saga, it's been kind of a lull. They understand that this movie has to knock it out of the park. It has to blow people away. And two, they've done that. So one, they've understood it, and two, they've executed it. It sounds like they really understood the assignment, and we're about to get the best that we possibly could get from the Russo brothers, from the cast for Avengers Doomsday. And a part of that is the next thing, comes down to Robert Downey Jr., Dr. Doom. One of the last things they said is quite interesting. They say Victor Von Doom demands a certain tone. To me, it's a more serious tone. And I would almost say a more respectful tone. I think about Kang when I think about a respectful tone, because if you were setting Kang up to be the big bad of the multiverse saga, it wasn't a good idea to have him be defeated by ants. You literally showed him in that movie destroying worlds with ease. You literally have him talking to Ant-Man saying, I've killed so many Avengers that they've blurred together. I don't even know who they are anymore because I just see one Avenger is basically all the same. Then he was killed, not killed, but he was defeated by ants. That's not very respectful to your big bad, in my personal opinion. So when I hear a certain tone, I do think they have to handle him with a certain respect. And I do think that means he is going to be incredibly powerful and done very, let's say, accurately to who he is in the comics. And I do fully believe that Robert Downey Jr., just being the actor that he is, will fully embody who he personally believes Doom should be after doing all of the research that we know he does. All the comic reading, watching anything with Doom in it, watching previous movies with Doom, just everything. We know he's going to embody Doom in a great way. But I also think that tone is darker, and I think that means deaths. I mentioned that before. We won't get into everyone who we think is going to die, although we should probably do that in a video. And I'd love to probably hear your thoughts before so we can kind of gauge how everyone's feeling. But I think deaths are coming. I think to show how strong Dr. Doom really is, the deaths have to come. And I'm worried. I don't want some of my characters to die, the characters that I know and love. But we know that the Russo brothers are taking this just as seriously as they possibly can. They have found a whole new level for storytelling with the narrative, they say, that we're going to get in Avengers Doomsday. And they're going to do the movie justice, which means doing the characters justice, which they have said, which I love. And that includes bringing back Captain America, Chris Evans, and him being at the center and being the leader once again. And I'm sure they've done that in a really great way. Apparently, the story that they have can't be done without him. And they did say Robert Downey Jr. tried to get them to return for over a year until they finally got the story with Stephen McFeely. And then it finally snapped and they went, okay, that's the story that we have to tell. But also at the same time, keep in mind, when they were doing interviews for Avengers Endgame, they were saying they were done with Marvel. And people were asking, what could anybody do to get you to come back? And they said Avengers Secret Wars. So they have thought about what kind of overall they want to do for a long time. And they finally got kind of like the key part of the story to actually come back and do it. So this is something that has been in the works for an incredibly long time. And now after hearing this, I'm starting to get more hyped than ever. And I'm starting to get more trust with them for this movie than I've had before. And I'm just more excited. But go ahead and let me know what you think about all of this in the comments down below. Would love to know all of your thoughts. Are you getting more excited? Are you trusting that it's going to be a great movie more? Or are you still kind of on the fence and you're not sure? I'd love to know your thoughts. Let me know in the comments down below. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest Avengers Doomsday and Marvel news. And you can also find us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Snapchat. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.